Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build MLB edition. I am Kevin Roberts with Taylor Smith. It's good to be back. We had a little break there over the weekend. Getting ready to break down the main slate over at DraftKings for MLB DFS. The goal is to help you win. If you'd like some extra advice, check out our Patreon. Just $5.99 for the entire month for MLB, NBA, UFL, MMA, DFS picks, and I may be forgetting something else that we cover. Of course, when NFL rolls around, we'll be doing that too. But we give out core plays and stacks and pitcher picks for all those sports. And also in our Discord, which you get access to through Patreon, you can chat it up with us leading into lock. All right, let's go over this slate here. If this video does help you out in any way, please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Those things help us out quite a bit. The subscribing thing helps you out too, because if you turn notifications on, you'll get alerted to future videos just like this as we continue to break down every slate that we possibly can. All right, so for baseball, we go game by game, looking at the pitching matchups and the stacks that we may or may not have interest in. We also try to factor in weather. Obviously, there's a lot of it on today's slate. First game here, Miami against the Mets. We have Tyler Phillips taking on the Mets. On the other side, we have Kodai Senga taking on the Marlins. Naturally, Kodai looks like one of the best plays on the board at pitcher. And then on the other side, I think you can stack up the Mets. So I think it's probably as simple as that. Do you have any other glean here?
I think Senga's an okay play. 9K is not cheap. He threw 77 pitches against this very foe in his only start of the season. Generally, a pitcher facing a lineup twice in a row favors the offense in the second matchup, just because they just saw him. You know, he doesn't really have the edge in terms of surprise there, but it's a good pitcher. It's a bad offense he's facing. I'm going to be, as of now, it's 11 in the morning Pacific time, so a little early to say anything with certainty, but I'm coming in about half the field of Senga now. He's coming in around 30%. I have about 15 right now. Fine play, but there are quite a few good pitching options on this slate. I don't think he's my favorite one. I think the Mets are okay as a stack, but it is a pitcher-friendly park. They're facing, I think, a bullpen game or something for Miami. So, you know, picking on bullpen games isn't my favorite thing to do. Bullpens are generally better than a starter who can just be out there getting crushed. So I don't know. I'm not super psyched about either side of this game. I think the field's going to be on the Mets, and I'm not really with them on that.
Yeah, due to the park, I think you could certainly make that case, but obviously the splits kind of favor them, especially from the righties right now. So, you know, Pete Alonso, Dong City, I don't mind that. Mets are good, so you can stack the Mets if you want, but I'm with you. I'm not like super into it. I think if I was going to stack an offense and feel confident in this game, that's obviously the one. Kodai looks really good. The only issue is he's mega chalk. Like he right now is coming in at 28% ownership last time I checked. So, I mean, mega chalk in relation to is the highest owned pitcher right now. There's actually quite a few guys that are in that 20% range. So maybe not true mega chalk. He's not like Glass now at 51% or whatever it was. So there's that. If you want to play the angle of like ace pitchers who are, you know, super owned, keep getting their tits lit, like you can certainly stack Marlins, I think. The other thing is the sample size is small, but he is giving up numbers to lefties, and the Marlins do have quite a few. How many they got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the projected lineup. Not scary ones, no doubt about it. But you were mentioning Graham Pauley before we got going here, so that's one of them. And you can talk me into a little bit of Marlins here, like especially if I'm going to fire up Kodai, in which I certainly will. Certainly lean Kodai, but if you're going to play him, I would leverage that a little bit with some Marlins stacks. You were kind of. Go ahead.
I do like a Marlins mini stack. Like they're cheap. They're not a good team. They have some okay hitters. Xavier Edwards at the top is like the only expensive bat there at 4.4, but you know, Otto Lopez is okay. He's 3,800 second base, going to hit high in the order. Don't hate Kyle Stowers as a cheap outfielder. I think Jonah Bride, 2,700 first and third base. Like you don't have to go overboard with the Marlins, but since Senga is going to be so owned, no issue with the mini stack of them on this slate.
Yeah. All right. So next game we have Rangers and Cubs. This game feels like it might not play. It is orange yellow from Roth in the weather report at Roto Grinders. It's also very cold. So if you are going to do anything here, weirdly enough, you'd probably go target the pitching. You have Nathan Eovaldi on one side, Justin Steele on the other. Two solid pitchers. not always the most dominant DFS pitchers, but they would be totally in play in a cold game with the winds blowing in at Wrigley. The funny thing is, though, if this game is impacted by weather, and even if it weren't PPD, you could have these pitchers in great situations, and then they don't play a full game because rain might, kind of mess with stuff. That said, if you are going to target this game, I think I'm going to go pitching here. Justin Steele, I mean, the matchup looks decent here, but obviously he's got the tougher spot. So I think I'd kind of naturally lean towards Eovaldi here, but I think both would be in play.
Yeah, I mean, I love the pitching here if the game goes. Luckily, this is the only one with like legit weather concerns on the slate. All the other weather games are like the turbo slate, so we kind of dodged a bullet with that. But I want all the Justin Steele if they play. He's 7,700. He hasn't been good to start the season, but a history of being a good pitcher. Texas has some strikeouts in the lineup against lefties. Corey Seager will strike out. Adolis Garcia strikes out quite a bit. Jonathan Ornelas at the bottom of the order strikes out a ton in a pretty limited sample. So good spot. Weather's phenomenal. Like if they play, it's the most wind-sensitive park in the league, and it's like 20 degrees, and the wind is blowing in.
With 30-mile-per-hour gusts. So it's like,
yeah.
At the risk of sounding stupid, this is the last game I want hitters from. Like, seriously.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the pitchers are going to be chalk if the game is greenlit, but I'm not going to get leverage this way. I think there are better ways to do it. We talked about Miami. We'll get to other pitchers who are going to be chalk, Logan Gilbert, things like that. So this game's all about the arms. Steele and Eovaldi are both good. I'm happy to play both of them together. If the game's good to go, and then I will not be playing the bats at all because this is about as bad as it gets for hitting weather.
100%. All right, Twins at KC taking on the Royals. Simeon Woods Richardson takes on KC. They do not strike out, so that's not very fun, and he's not really that good of a pitcher. So I'm not really interested in him. I definitely lean KC there. And on the other side, Michael Lorenzen, he's okay at times. But he can also be beat up on here, especially 12% walk rate last year to lefties. That is not great. He's taking the Twins. There are some strikeouts in their lineup too, but I certainly lean towards both offenses here. I think the Twins are kind of sneaky, but I don't have a problem with KC. If you get there, they're just going to be more expensive.
Yeah, this is the opposite of the last game. It's about all the bats and not about the pitchers at all.
Yeah.
I think the Minnesota side is the way I want to go. Overall, like Lorenzen is occasionally okay, like you said. Like he's been a pretty okay pitcher over the years, but he's kind of gotten lucky. His underlying stuff suggests he's due progression the past couple of years. So Minnesota hasn't been good offensively for most of the year, but don't mind targeting him here, assuming like they might be owned a little bit. I don't think they're going to be chalk or anything like that. So I'm happy to fire up Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Willie Castro is a pretty good value. Ryan Jeffers, a catcher with some power. Love a Minnesota stack on this slate. The outfielders too, Larnach, Wallner, and Bader are all under 4K. So pretty cheap stack. Helps you get to some expensive pitching or an expensive other stack if you want. And the KC side is just as good against Simeon Woods Richardson. He has a reverse split, so the righties like Witt, India, Sal Perez going to be the preferred hitters here, but still no issue with like Vinny P, MJ Melendez, things like that. So this game looks awesome for bats. I want to pay up both and play them a lot, I think.
Yeah, the other thing with Lorenzen, if that like 12.8% K walk rate holds true from last year, I mean, like they have a ton of lefties, and a lot of those lefties not only have power, but they also have really nice walk rates. So it's just not a good recipe for Lorenzen at all. Orioles against the Diamondbacks. Zach Eflin taking on Arizona. Godspeed, Zach. Godspeed. Zach Gallen was terrible in his debut. Really, really good his last time out. Now he gets to face the Orioles. So my guess is he's going to shit the bed. So, I mean, the Orioles are very good. This is another spot where, like, okay, first of all, Gallen can be very good. Eflin can certainly survive, but I'm definitely liking the offenses here. I don't have a problem with either of them. I think I just naturally favor the Orioles just because I think Gallen's going to be more owned than Eflin, so I think you can get a little bit more leverage. But you could go either way. They both look pretty interesting.
Yeah, Gallen's a little cheap for who he is, 8,300. I think that's a pretty reasonable salary. Not a good spot, though. Like, he's going to be behind the Wrigley pitchers if that game goes. But if we don't get it, that might raise my interest in Gallon. I'm still getting to him a little bit. I'm about even with Gallon and Singa in terms of exposure. So like 15% of both right now. I do prefer the Orioles though, especially if Gallon's ownership gets steamed, like if that game rains out and ownership comes to him as a result. It's the Orioles lineup. They're good. They have Gunnar Henderson back. They don't have Colton Cowser, but still a good offense overall. Gallon has a reverse split, but still not too concerned. I like Rutschman. I like Henderson from the left side. I think Westberg is my favorite overall play in this game. Second, third base eligible, 4,800. And then on the other side of the Zakoff, I'm not really getting to Eflin at all. Like, he's cheap. He's 6,900, but he's had a pretty wide split over the years. Arizona is an imposing lineup against righties with all the lefties they have. I'm not getting a ton of the Diamondbacks right now. I wish I'd be getting a little more. I feel like I'm always under on them, which never feels good, but it's a perfectly good stack. Yeah, I think really you can play all sides of this game. I think Eflin's the side in which I have the least interest, but everything's a little bit viable, so I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, it feels weird to like the Orioles against Gallon. Like, you definitely nailed it because like Gallon is cheap. He is a good, talented pitcher, and the Orioles do have a 23% whiff rate collectively. So it's like it's not really a bad spot. The only problem, he's got a lot of power to contend with, and he did get rocked already this year. So I'm with you. The only thing I'm not doing here at all is Eflin. Mariners and the Astros taking on each other in Seattle. This is a nice pitcher-friendly park, so we certainly can entertain Hayden Wesneski. The Mariners do strike out a shit ton. They do have good power, but I would naturally go Wesneski here. I feel like he's cheap, isn't he? He is 7.5. So I think he is viable, not even carrying ownership either. It's a pretty good spot. Houston, traditionally not a big strikeout lineup, a little bit worse than usual, but still not terrible. But Logan Gilbert obviously is the lean here. I think if Gilbert's going to be crazy owned, we can certainly entertain, stacking up Astros because he is pulling, 24% ownership. He's got the best projection in the slate, but he's also 9.5K and going to be owned. So a small sprinkling of Astros is okay. You could certainly argue that for Seattle if Wesneski's ownership picks up steam. But for the most part here, I think Logan's obviously in play, and Wesneski looks like a nice SP2.
Yeah, I think Gilbert's fine. Like, he's not the SP1 for me. I think the matchup's bad enough to kind of relegate him 9,500, so we're not really getting a discount. He is great. I don't expect him to get murdered in this game or anything, but I think there are other ways to go. I'm not dying to pick on Houston with a chalky pitcher. I do think Houston's a good leverage stack. Tough park for hitting. Like, Houston's lineup has generally been better on the road, but if you're going on the road into the best pitchers park in the league, it's not that exciting.
Right.
But I do think Alvarez is a great one-off if you don't want to stack Houston. Otherwise, it's a sea of righties, which I don't love either, but Paredes, Altuve, Christian Walker have power. Yainer Diaz historically has been a pretty good hitting catcher too. So I do think Houston's a good leverage stack. I like Seattle regardless as a stack. I think just the power in the lineup, even in this park against kind of a middling right-hander. Like, I see you about with Wisniewski, just because it's Seattle, they strike out a ton. It's not a good park for offense, but I think I'm siding with the bats in this one, especially if Wisniewski becomes more popular throughout the day.
Yeah, totally fair. It's not like he himself is the reason I'm playing him.
Right.
It's just a price, park, and strikeout thing, but certainly not safe. Just shaping up to me as one of the more appealing SP2s. Well, honestly, a lot of it has to do with he's not owned either, so that was kind of interesting. Hunter Green, though, looks pretty good here against the Giants. The Giants don't strike out a ton, but it is a really good park for pitching in San Francisco. Hunter Green does strike out people a ton. This year, just insane 36% K rate so far. Obviously, small sample size, but even last year, he was like in 26% range. Crushes lefties, and they have a lot of them. They also have a lot of righties, but you just never know what they're going to do because they just take guys in and out of the lineup as they please. But Hunter Green looks good, and he's cheaper than Logan Webb. On the other side, Webb looks really good here against the Reds. Not an insane strikeout rate for Cincy, but again, park downgrade for them. Good spot for Webb, and all his numbers look pretty good. This looks like a pitching spot for me for sure. I like them both quite a bit, but right now I'm going to lean Green just because the K upside is a little bit better, and he's cheaper.
Yeah, the reason I'm not getting to Singa or Gilbert a lot is because Green and Steele are under 8K. Like, those guys project just as well as the top guys, and they're considerably cheaper. So I'm sure they'll both be owned, assuming the Cubs game is good to play, but I don't really see an issue with it. Like, we're just getting good pitchers who are far too cheap. I don't know why Green is 7,900. It doesn't make any sense to me. Uh, Great park for pitching, like you said. I mean, the Giants have a decent offense, but I'm not really worried about it. It's just a value play. And then Webb, I like quite a bit, especially if the Cubs game is a washout. I'm getting a lot of Webb anyway, 8,500. Doesn't really get shelled. Super high ground ball stuff. Not as exciting a strikeout pitcher as Hunter Green or some of the other guys, but long leash since he's not imposing either, really, on the road especially. So all about the pitching and then minimal exposure to the leverage stacks on this one.
Yep, agreed. All right, last game of the night, we got the Padres visiting the Athletics. Don't call them the Oakland Athletics because that ain't what they are, sir. Michael King taking out the Athletics. You know I always love to play the A's, but this is not really the place to do it. The park is better than what we are used to seeing for them, but Michael King's pretty good. So I definitely lean the Michael King route. He is going to carry ownership, though. He's coming at what, 20? No, about 18%. So maybe he'll be pushing 20, 25% as we get closer to lock. I mean, I'm okay with a sprinkling of Athletics. I do always like them. They do have power. I think they strike out enough, and he has a good strikeout rate to the point where, like, I just certainly would rather just play him if I had to choose a side. On the other side, Luis Severino, we've talked about him before, whereas we don't feel amazing about picking on him, but the Padres don't strike out, and they do have power. So I think I actually prefer San Diego by quite a bit here.
Yeah, the Padres are really jumping off the page. Like, they're the top stack, I think, on the slate by a pretty good margin. This has been a good hitters park so far. Small sample, but it certainly played that way last week when they were playing the Cubs. Padres are a good offense. They have plenty of power at the top of the order. We generally prefer lefties against Severino. The Padres aren't loaded with those, but Jackson Merrill's a standout. Cronenworth's fine. Hayward, if he's in the lineup, and Sheets and Arise are all lefties. So you can build the stack pretty easily. Obviously, you want to make Tatis and Machado priorities even from the right side. As of now, this is the stack to which I have the most exposure on the slate, followed by Baltimore. And then I think King is fine. He's a little pricey at 9.2, but we saw the ceiling in the last game. The A's are a fine offense. They're kind of boom or bust. Do have some strikeouts in there. So definitely on the King and the Padres side, not so much on the A's and not onto Severino, even a little bit.
Yeah, it feels weird that the Athletics are in a pretty decent park for hitting, and I'm still not gaga about them because always on
there are other
the
spots
Athletics. It's true.
Padres are just in a better spot.
All right, that does it for the game-by-game breakdown. Let's end things here with your top SP1 and your stack of the slate.
So my strategy as of now, weather permitting, is to play Steele, to play Green, and then stack the Padres. I don't think that'll be sneaky, but I think it's the way to go. It just kind of comes together easily. The slate doesn't have a lot of standout offense. I like Baltimore as a leverage stack on Gallen, but if the Mets are chalk, which I hope they will be, I'm not really going to be there. I'm just going to take my chances in these later games. Hope the Mets put up 4 runs without breaking the slate, and just take my chances on San Diego, Baltimore, and then both sides of the Twins KC game.
Yeah, I like all of that. I mean, the Padres have the best implied run total of the entire slate with 4.66. So, I mean, I would imagine because of that, they'd be a little bit owned too, but I'm okay with that. Pretty easy here for the Giants and the Reds. Both the pitchers look good. Zero interest in the hitting there. Baltimore and Arizona definitely get a lot of exposure to them. Both those offenses look great. Even the Orioles against Gallen, I think they're really interesting. Still would get a sprinkling of the Athletics because I can't quit them, and you know that. The other thing is the Twins, 3.9 implied run total. So I think they're going to fly a little bit under the radar here. So I do think the Twins look really good. Michael Lorenzen is certainly a guy we can get to. And they are a surprisingly patient offense that has power, which is always something you want to see against a middling pitcher. All right. And my SP1 is going to be Hunter Green at 7.9K, just in a pitcher park against a good, but an offense that can certainly be had. Because I'm just not going to go push the Cubs thing with the game looking kind of murky, but I'm with you that those weather conditions are obscene for a pitcher. Like both pitchers would look really, really good if that game is okay to go. All right, that is going to do it for us. Hopefully this helps you out. If it did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, visit our Patreon. The link is in below the video here. You can come check out what we have to offer. Only $5.99 a month to get all of our picks for all the sports we cover. Plus our chat in Discord is included in that monthly rate. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.